is quite poofy, isn't it? It's a bit, there's space. It definitely fits nice and oval around the face, like it creates a little framing. I love the edge. I'm gonna say that this edge, it adds a finishing touch that is really nice. So have you ever wondered how to make one yourself, or in this cold season you wanted to make one for yourself or as a present to someone else? Stay tuned. In this video I'll be showing how to make one. It's following a pattern that I put together, so you can also check out Etsy and get the pattern there. I guess as you can see, there's some progress to it. The top of the head is knitted, and as you can see there's a contour all around. So the crown of the head is shaped, and as you can see it's a little bit wider at the front and narrower at the end with some brioche decreases. So you can sort of shape it to your own liking. In the pattern in Etsy I keep it just straight and simple, very friendly for beginners, and then there's also very visual diagrams of how to construct the garment, so you will see absolutely every step, and it's on purpose trying to keep such complications like decreases or increases to minimum, so that it knits well, knits quickly, and that you're not too intimidated. So it's a beginner friendly pattern, like I said. I guess just continuing on from there, you'll see that the sides started to grow, are growing, and eventually it will form a side of the hood. There's nothing much to say about it. Another topic in this video that I'm going to be covering is how to set up your own knit wardrobe or capsule wardrobe, with some examples and references, as well as tools to do it yourself. I'm not the expert in the topic. I'm gonna leave references of people who are the experts in the topic. I'm myself a designer and used the design principles for interiors and products, and in this case for capsule wardrobe. So I have some suggestions how to do it better, but there are some experts in this field, such as Wonder Wardrobe and other references. So start knitting. So what I'm doing is using this circular needles, but I'm knitting back and forth. And knitting back and forth has a definite advantage with brioche pattern, because if you knit back and forth, you're basically simplifying the brioche stitches for what you need to do. If you are knitting it fully in the round, you have to alternate what you're doing in terms of how you're executing the brioche stitch. So just starting with the first one being the knit stitch. And I really hope this camera can pick up the dark burgundy pattern. Doesn't look like it's so it's usually when you see a purl stitch, you just yarn over and take off the purl, and then when you see the brioche stitch, which has two stitches together, like the normal stitch and a yarn over stitch, you just knit them. So it just repeats: yarn over, pull off, and knit brioche stitch together. And brioche stitch means the purl stitch, or the yarn over together with the, let me just take this out of the code. So brioche stitch is obviously the yarn over with the knit stitch. So brioche stitch is usually counted as one, so knit two together, yarn over, and take off purlwise. Continuing with this hood. So yesterday, I worked up to the sides. So as you can see, the top of the head it looks like this. It looks like so. Kind of starts wider and it goes narrower towards the end, and the sides are extending I picked up the edges, basically picked up the edges all along, you know, the 3 edges other than the front, and started continued with brioche pattern. And basically, as you can see, the brioche changed direction, so it was flowing this way when the knitting happened in the rows, like so, and it's flowing downwards now when the knitting is done in the round. So it just continuing to use the circle needles without and turn the work. So continuing with that simple brioche stitch, you know, knit brioche and slip stitch purlwise. So just continuing the same pattern. So I would say it's getting much faster as well. Just, you know, getting hang of it. I will introduce a few short rows towards the end. It's not in the pattern, but the pattern also doesn't ask you to change shape of the top of the hood. And I'm gonna just be honest and I say immediately that now that it's done, I did make it wider at the front. I prefer the pattern where it was just sort of same length, because I was trying to mimic the hoods, one of the hood that I like wearing the most, and it had just very simple straight line, and it gives nice and elegant sort of narrow front, and it is simpler to knit when it's just one narrow. So do check out the pattern. Like I said, it's in the links below. You know, it's not too expensive to get, I think over £1 or something. So yeah, so continuing from here, I guess I'll knit for a bit. Okay, so it's another day now, and I had a pretty productive evening yesterday knitting, knitting this hood. So as you can see, it's quite full-bodied now. So the sides were knitted and they're quite long now. As you can see, the top of the head is here and the sides go all the way up there. Let me just quickly take the stoppers. I've also made a little join, so a crisscross join. So as you can see, the hat is connected sharply with the and also overlapping way. So it creates this round top of the head, and then very sharp connecting point that overlaps slightly. So what else happened yesterday was that I knitted some German short rows to make the back longer. It was required to do this time round because I chose to shape the top of the head and make it wider at the front and narrower at the end, and that just created this effect that the back lifted. So in the beginner's pattern, it's not the case at all. You don't need to do any German short rows. I think they can be a bit intense for beginners, so the pattern is very beginner friendly. It has just very nice universal top and universal sides, and they don't go shorter at the back, like in my case with this hood. So I did those German short rows to increase the back, and so that it all meets at the same length at the front and at the back. And then I did what also in the pattern is required. I knitted brioche and stitch and the column stitch together. So effectively making knit two together to decrease for the neck. So I went and did that, and as you can see, it creates like a bit of a round shaping. So like maybe here is better. It creates this sort of rounded, tugged shaping because you start to bring in the whole knit, decreasing it, and it created just this like hood oval finish that sort of finishes under the chin. So So that happened, and then I did a cast off and picked up all the stitches along the edge for 2x2 rib. So as you can see, this is brioche and this is a 2x2 rib that I'm continuing. So I am now considering if I should do, well, I'm gonna knit for much longer to make the neck nice and long and cover the full neck and then some. And I'm just wondering if I should do a double folded neck. That's just something I'm thinking to change according, to the difference from the pattern. But I also think that this hood is nice to use for when you have also scarves and stuff, so you also don't want to make it too bulky and too stuffy. So I think I might just stick to non-folded neck. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing. And let's just knit for a little while together. And then I think it would be nice to, meet at the point where I'm gonna do a flexible cast off. So really important to do a flexible, stretchy cast off. Too many times I've done the non-flexible version, and then it's impossible to get through into the into the sweater or into the into the hood. So that unfortunately I think has to happen a few times for us as knitters until we start to differentiate our cast off methods. While we continue to do this 2x2 rib, which looks, I think, gorgeous on any garment, and I've done it on quite a few garments now for kids and for grown-ups. It just has a really nice definition to it, and it kind of complements this brioche. As you can see, like it sort of looks, obviously looks different, but it still complements the rhythm that brioche creates, the 3D nature of it. But I hope you had a bit more of an idea how to organize your wonder wardrobe, or knit capsule wardrobe. A little bit share from my personal experience. Like I said earlier, I did those capsule definition exercises that were provided by Wonder Wardrobe and a few other sources. It did cost to get the course and get the everything set up properly, but since then, and it's been 2 years ago, I had such a confidence boost in what I can buy, what colors, what garments fit me, or which ones I sort of tend to lean to or have a surplus of and need to balance with something else. I would say I gotten more courageous to buy more expensive items, knowing that it's gonna last. It's also going to work with every single color and style in my wardrobe. So when I'm knitting, also I think knitting is like a huge commitment, because you're gonna spend maybe more on the good yarn, on better quality yarn, and also you're gonna spend like long hours knitting. It just helped me to move with assuredness that what I'm gonna knit is going to complement my style, that I'm now aware of what my styles are. My personal style is casual dramatic. So dramatic being that I like see-through garments, I like oversized fits, I like wearing male kind of clothing, or what would be unisex, I guess, but then feminizing it with like short skirt or something. So now that I know that my style is dramatic, and tends to be more on the side of accentuating the silhouettes. I know that I can balance it with casual style silhouettes, which is wide fitting, loose fitting, and create like this beautiful harmony that it's casual dramatic, and it actually solved quite a lot of problems when it came to just dressing also appropriately. Like I used to dress quite sort of you know, dramatic style is a little bit tends to be more like a bit sexy, or you know, you could say a bit sensual. And I would say that it's not always appropriate to dress like that, let's say in a working environment or just in general, I think. And I you know, people would ask me, oh, are you going out somewhere, or are you going to an event after work or something? And for me, it was just comfortable style, something that I felt really comfortable wearing. That's all. I didn't think too much of it. But now that I, you know, became aware of my style, and it was matching it really closely, because, you know, she described what kind of fabrics this style likes, and I was like, wow, like I do indeed lean towards like the see-through, the textured fabrics. The colors are on the darker side, and when she described what my style prefers to wear every day, I was like, yeah, that definitely is my, it's what I like. And then when she went to go describe a bit more like what the casual style represents, or like that it kind of leans more to like creative people like to dress with loose fitting, wide silhouette, you know, clothing. I was like, wow, like I also have that side in me, and I do, you know, my workplace is casual dress code, because I'm a programmer and designer, and they tend to wear, you know, very casual looking clothing, like t-shirts with some cartoon pictures and so on. So it's like the casual is a complementary style. So dramatic casual would balance out my work environment, also just the silhouette, and would make it introduce that element of you know, relaxed, and also, you know, people wouldn't be asking me if I'm going out in the evening somewhere, or like if I'm going to an event or something. And then I invested in items that were just casual, wide fitting, loose fitting, and so on. So, and it balanced my look like very nicely. So I would have, like, for example, I would wear leggings that have this dramatic pattern, and of course they're tight fitting, and then I would wear this wide fitting oversized you know, denim jacket or something. So yeah, so the same story with knitting. I would make sure my knits are maybe looser fitting, so more on the casual side, and then the colors, I knew which colors worked with my color season, and then that would work with each other very well. So I can share you know, my color palette, which I refined a couple of times actually, and I do still tend to like maybe go over with the burgundies and navies, even though I have other colors in my palette. So yeah, it's a bit of a balancing act still, but at least I know that I can move with confidence, and I don't feel like I'm gonna waste time if I am going to knit something for 60 hours and spend, you know, 50 quid on yarn. So it's gonna make that garment really expensive in terms of labor, and so I better, you know, I would want to wear it like for sure, and not, you know, not leave it kind of untouched. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed some of those stories about Wonder Wardrobe and Capsule Wardrobe and creating your own capsule wardrobe. Do check out those courses if you would like to make an investment that I would say so it's an investment that comes back. Like you save a lot of time, money, and worry later down the line. And I would say one thing that really is worthwhile is at least finding out which colors work for your skin, or what is known, you know, your season colors, and then figuring out which colors look good next to your skin. So for example, next to my skin I couldn't wear yellow because it just makes me look green everywhere. Even though my hair is like ash, it's ash yellow, so I would say I'm stretching it, going lighter color, but as long as it's very ash and muted, it's kind of fair, that's fine. But yellow I couldn't wear next to my skin. I could wear it as an accessory, maybe on top of next to other colors, but not next to where my skin, you know, coloring, natural coloring is. So I'll leave you the links to check out your own color season, and if you don't want to commit to something like Wonder Wardrobe, then or other paid services, then that's fair. At least you can work out a few other small things. The only thing that I would say the Wonder Wardrobe did do is it helped work out all of it. So what's your proportion, what's your body fit? For example, I'm a short person, so I should wear clothing that is, you know, meeting the short proportion, so like cut off sleeves, short collars, crop tops, and then for example, I couldn't wear a dress that starts at the neck and finishes in the heels, because it would just make me look like a little barrel of honey or something that's rolling away, which I totally at the beginning I tried to wear elongating trousers that would make my legs look longer, but after I understood how those short proportions need to be mirrored, that I'm a short proportion person, like 1 meter 65 height is short, so I think up to 1 meter 70 euro a short proportion body or person. When I embraced the short proportions, I really started to see some flair in my style. Like I started wearing cropped trousers with cropped sleeves, with cropped tops, and with socks that go up to the ankle, and you know, cut up the length, cut up all the length of the legs, the arms. And you know what? I thought that it didn't make me look like short and stubby, but it actually made me look quite cute, like a cute, very cute, you know. Like I was like, wow, yeah, I'm digging this, and now I'm like almost never going away, you know, out without like a sock that is over my trousers. So yeah, so lots of babbling around that topic. I think we're getting ready to cast off. So let's have a look. So we have now this hood. It's starting to... So I think the length maybe could on for a bit. But can you see like the shape? Like I'm starting to dig the shape. But it's not finished yet. We're gonna have to do the front edge, the folded edge. The folded edge is gonna make it look proper professional finish with the laces as well. So, but okay, you see like this little nice back of the head. Lengthwise, it's probably okay to finish. So now we're gonna do the flexible or stretchy cast off. So the way it works is you have to just go with the pattern. Let's say we're knitting 2, and then you have to knit 2 together. So those 2 stitches, whoops, those 2 stitches that we just follow the pattern. Whoops, let's see what's going on here. Okay, let me just do that again. So I knit the knit and purl the purl, and then I take these 2 stitches and I knit them. You can also do purl, and then the next one you purl the purl, and then you knit the 2. Knit the knit and knit 2 together. Okay, then knit the knit, then knit 2 together. So this adds like extra length rather than taking stitches over each other, like, you know, the traditional is just to take with a back stitch and draw it over, but in that case you will create a very tight bind off. So we are knitting 2 together. Okay, so you can also purl 2 together, but I don't know, I find it a little bit easier to just knit 2 together, and it doesn't make a huge difference on the finish. Well, at least I don't see a huge difference, so I just follow the knit 2 together, and I find that that's already a huge achievement to just be able to execute a stretchy bind off. So it's going. I really hope it's gonna fit. I'm gonna do a demo we'll find together. So the moment of trying it on is usually, yeah, you find out if your garment went well or not. I had to undo a lot of garments actually in the past and just fix them, but that's okay. I think we need to, as knitters, really just embrace the going back and fixing, or just after lots of wear and tear, going back to the garment and doing these like patches or whatever, or just looking after the garment. I think that's one of the things I love about having started to knit. It just made me appreciate what I'm wearing: garments, fashion, style, timelessness, slow fashion, and investment items. I think it's just healthier, and I think more natural to what we used to be like, what we used to do. We used to make a lot of our own pieces, or, well, I think, and it's definitely in our DNA somewhere, like quite a bit. Women being spinning the wool, making it into yarn, maybe coloring it if that was available, or maybe just using the gray yarn, the color of the sheeps, I think, probably. So grays and yellows and whites, depending what the sheep was like, what the breed was. Yeah, and then weaving it, or knitting it, or, you know, whatever the craft was available. I think it's definitely in our ancestry, and it's in our DNA, and we are kind of drawn to lots of repetitive tactile things. So yeah, that's another little waffle on on knitting, I guess. But yeah, let me know what do you use knitting for? Do you just want to relax, or is it relaxing? Is it a creative outlet? Is it escapism for you? Is it a means to consume more information like TV or audiobooks, or is it a way to connect with yourself deeper? I mean, how do you see knitting in your world? I'm at a point where I would like to just knit like the whole time and not have to deal with, not have to work. And for now, at least, that's how I feel. Although knitting every day, I kind of also reach my limit. Like if I do 2 hours of knitting, I'm like, yeah, I am done. Yesterday I did quite a bit of knitting actually. I wanted to see this balaclava done, or like this hood done, because I'm going away. I'm traveling soon, and it's going to be -1, so getting quite cold here in Europe, and I thought I need a good balaclava for that. I lost my other balaclava that I knitted, or it's maybe just somewhere, it just fell somewhere, like somewhere between the cracks or something, and I will find it in the moment I look for it, I guess. But yeah, like, let me know what you're knitting. What is your current work in progress, or how many cast-ons do you have? It would be good to hear. Maybe you have some different ideas and for this Christmas and winter period. Is it sweaters again, like, or mostly, or you're doing something new, like trousers? One friend of mine asked to knit him trousers. I was like, whoa, that would be an interesting challenge, I guess. And also it would not wear so well, right? It wouldn't. I mean, maybe with wool, wool is more resistant than other yarns. I also don't know. In your opinion, what's the most resistant yarn, or what combination of yarns do you have to use to make it wear proof, like long wearing? Okay, we're almost there with the cast off. Well, almost there. You see, I have this very small loop, tiny loop for socks and so on. I think it's all right. I think I'm gonna try knitting socks with this small little. Oops! I started doing the non-flexible cast off. So you have to not sleep. Yeah, the moment of truth is coming. So if I make too many tight cast off stitches, then my head won't go in. So, and I would rather not undo this. I don't know. Oh, I think I'm gonna get through it. You see how flexible? It's amazing. Look. Wow. Yeah, it doesn't cease to amaze me. You know what? The flexible cast off doesn't always look fantastic. Like, it sometimes does make the edge flare up a little bit, or flare out. And I don't know, I think there are multiple ways to cast off, like Norwegian cast off, old Norwegian cast off, I think it's called. Some other fancy ones where you use the weaving needle and so on. Not that expert with those, but I definitely know that you have to have at least two methods to cast off: a stretchy cast off and a non-stretchy cast off. That's for certain. Sometimes you'll want one, sometimes you'll need another one. Even like on sleeves, it just depends. It just depends what your gauge was, what your preferred fit is. You will have to sometimes go against the pattern. I think, at least in my experience, that's how it was. Sometimes I want to change a bit of something as well, a sleeve fit, the way sleeve fits and so on, and then all of a sudden I'm in trouble and I need to use a flexible cast off if I want my arm to not go blue, you know. But that's the fun part, right? It's always like making slight adjustments and fixing and solving problems. I think that's why knitters love it so much. That's my theory, at least, that problem solving is the fun part, and that's why we're knitting so much, because actually most of the time it doesn't go according to plan. So, and I find that knitters I met are just such clever people as well, and they're so funny. I joined this knitting evening with these women, and they're like all kinds of ages as well, and I just find them so funny, you know, so funny. Like, I spent an evening laughing so much. Oops, did one eyelet escape, or is it just me? It doesn't look okay. I think we're finished. I didn't even notice that we were done. Okay, let's take it off and get it through the loop. Nice. So we have quite a bit of stretch, so that gives me hope. Okay, so it doesn't look that long, but it's longer than what I did last time, so that's good. Okay, so we're going to pick up now the edges to create that folded edge, and because we have this overlap, we're kind of keeping the distance a little bit, so I would say just maybe a centimeter or so, and you can either pick up the edge, or there's another method that you can use, which I used for this balaclava all around, which is using the string to create a new loop edge or new stitches. So just going in there and pulling the stitch through. So I think the first one might be good to tie, let's say. So okay, and then just creating the new stitches along the edge. So it's always a bit of a, no matter which method you choose, just picking the edge stitches normally or creating new ones using the string, the yarn, it's just gonna be a bit fiddly to do until you go along the entire edge. And what we're gonna do knitting wise for this is you create a garter stitch, garter pattern, meaning just knitting stockinette stitches all along, back and forth. However, you could just choose to do stockinette stitches and then purl stitches to keep everything uniform, and that does look quite good. It's gonna roll in the direction where the stockinette stitches are made. So if the stockinette stitches are facing inwards, it's gonna roll over, so it kind of creates that fold almost naturally. And in the pattern, in the balaclava pattern that is linked below, you can get it uses stockinette stitches facing inward, so that the folded edge folds almost on itself naturally without much effort. So you can see we're creating these. I'm gonna have a stopper and just need to go all around, all along the edge. It's much bigger edge than the previous balaclava. I guess it's a one-size balaclava pattern as well, I have to say, and it does leave you with guidance to just maybe customize the size. You can always make the crown of the head wider or narrower. I made it narrower in the pattern and it looks very elegant. I think if I was to knit the third balaclava or like hood, I would make it narrower, because it also just creates this nice swooping edge to the crown, whereas now the swooping edge goes like this. And I like both, but I would say the narrower crown is a little bit more flattering. And I copied one of the hoodies from Nike for inspiration to recreate the hood, and they use a narrower crown, top of crown, and I think they know what they're doing. Like they have a team of designers, like fashion designers, so they know what they're doing. They know that this narrower fit creates a slightly more elongated hood around the face, and it just looks good no matter who's wearing it. I usually, if you use kind of a piece of clothing that is an expensive piece of clothing, let's say, then for sure you can be guaranteed that a lot of fashion design and prototype development hours went into it, and they had lots of meetings, which one looks better, and they said, let's use this because it looks better, and a lot of people in the room said yes indeed. So as a designer, I'm a designer. I worked with product design and interior design and so on, a few other things, digital product design. It's just always how it is. Like if you buy a finished product that's expensive, like let's say All Saints or Nike or Anthropologie, is a lot of hours, a lot of man hours, women hours behind the product, and lots of prototypes. So they would make a pattern, they would edit it, they would produce a new garment, they would have a meeting about it, they would talk about it. So it's not a bad shout to just take a garment or go for inspiration and base your garment ideas off of a few of those, or even just, well, you could also copy it just to learn how it's constructed, and the proportions are gonna look good, and the fit, you know, is gonna look high end. It's going to look professional and finished. And to be frank, that's almost like a very standard practice in product design. You know, part of the process is looking what others have made in multiple places, and then figuring out what's the version you want to make, like maybe slightly edited, maybe slightly tweaked. But there's a lot of like looking around and researching, and you know, I would say it's copying. It's mostly copying what others have done, but if you copy from multiple sources and you add some tweaks, then it's original again. But yeah, I guess that's how we see a lot of fashion repeat itself as well a bit. So I think I finished casting on. So now we're gonna just knit back and forth as well, and I'm gonna just try and do garter stitch this time. I did stockinette stitch, you know, keeping stockinette stitch is facing inner side. Let me just see if I need to get, where is it? I'm gonna try garter stitch this time, just for fun. It is gonna look different than having just pearl stitch on the outside. But I'm curious to see how it looks, and I'm just going with experimenting with even changing my own patterns, and you're welcome to do so as well. I think if it's just a pearl stitch, it would look more uniform. So let's just start knitting. If it was just the one type of stitch, like pearl stitch on one side and stockinette stitch on another, it would look more uniform and maybe tightly compact and wouldn't draw too much attention to itself. That's I think my bet. But I also saw some people knitting balaclavas who didn't want to maybe bother with brioche stitch, because brioche stitch is a bit difficult actually. It's a bit, you have to just practice it for a bit, and this balaclava gives you plenty of opportunity to practice it because it's nothing but brioche stitch. So, and they used garter stitch instead of brioche to create that 3D look, and you know, I saw it and it looked good. Although the only thing I would say it does is it creates a different direction. So brioche stitch creates this direction, but garter stitch creates those kind of rows, like they flow along the head, and then instead of going down like brioche stitch on the sides, like brioche goes down like this, the garter stitch goes like this. So I don't know, again, you could argue which one looks more flattering and which one you'd like to use instead. But so let's see. So with picked up stitches, I think, well, it usually feels like it's gonna be much tighter fitting, and it usually is like a huge struggle to get through the picked up edges. But with the yarn loops passed over, it is much easier to work the first row. And I don't know, you could argue that maybe it creates a bit of a, like, some space for, it's a bit too flexible, you could say. Again, I tried different methods for different projects, this is the first time I think I'm trying to pass the yarn through the edge and see if that works better or nicer in some ways. So far I have no opinion because I liked the tight fitting, almost like they look like they're really sewn together when you're just picking up stitches and not passing the yarn, which I think is logical, right? Because if you pass yarn through, you're creating extra yarn, whereas if you're picking existing yarn, it's of course gonna make it much tighter. So okay. Okay, so I finished this edge, so I did the garter stitch like I said. It's not folding on itself like stockinette stitch would. If it was just stockinette stitch here and purl stitch here, then it would be folding it on itself naturally, but it's not. So when it's finished and I'm gonna fold it myself, obviously all the same, but I'm just using a different cast off method. So I'm using just a normal one stitch over another. This is the tighter cast off. It's not as stretchy, but in this case that's fine and almost, you know, preferable as well. I don't want very loose feeling fold, because it kind of adds structure to this hood. If the edge is tighter, so if it's tighter, then it will, you know, stand on its own a bit better, and that's preferable, because I do want that edge to almost like hold its own weight and create a round, round structure on itself. So I'm just gonna finish the cast off in this method, and then after that I will be looking at crocheting the strings, or you can obviously use laces that are, you know, store-bought. Okay, so we're ready to tie this off. Cool. Nice. Looks quite long now, of course, but we're gonna fold it, so it's gonna go quite short. It's gonna have this edge. Switch to crochet. Okay, so it creates a little wrap around. So my hair is very puffy there, so obviously it's gonna make the balaclava or like the hood slightly more puffy still. So let's see. The neck, I like the length of the neck. I don't feel like it needs to be longer in this case. Nice. Let's see if I wanted to tie it. Obviously it would be like Kenny, but if I take it off and I could tie it, and it looks, yeah, it sits nice on the neck, becomes quite warm as well. If I tied it, then it would sit even tighter around the neck. Yeah. So I hope you like this little project, knit along. I tried to finish a full product in this video, so let me know if you enjoyed it or if you want to see any kind of just 1 hour straight knitting. And that was, and yeah, I guess I see you next time.